For Pride Month, which was in June, one of our listeners, Chrissy, set up a fundraiser for Point Foundation, but she's planning to go ahead and leave it up for the rest of 2021. So please join in and donate if you can. The Point Foundation helps LGBTQ plus students achieve their goals of higher education with financial assistance, mentoring, leadership programming, and more. Your generosity helps Point provide scholarships and vital programs to a new generation of LGBTQ plus leaders. If you'd like to donate, go to our Instagram, Who's the Boss Podcast, and the link is in our bio. It's listed as Chrissy's Pride Foundation.
You said, do what you do best, and that's what I'm doing.
All right, Moan.
Mature Woman is launching a whole new direction, both inside and out. New advertisers, new articles, new readers, and introducing next month's cover of the new Mature Woman magazine. Ta-da!
Whoa! Who's the babe? Grandma?
Hi, welcome back to
Hey, oh, hey.
the Who's the Boss Podcast. I'm Tori,
I'm Kevin.
and we are here to rewatch and discuss every single episode of Who's the Boss. Today we're going to cover Season 5, Episode 11. The title is Your Grandmother's a Bimbo. It first aired on what?
What?
It says Sunday, January 29th, 1989. That can't be
No,
right.
that can't be right,
Unless
because
it was moved. Okay, we did some research. So I think TV Guide is wrong here. Everywhere else says Tuesday, January 24th, 1989.
yeah.
But in our searches, we found something interesting, was that Ted Bundy was executed at 7 a.m. on Tuesday, January 24th, 1989.
Oh.
So I
yeah,
thought
see.
maybe they could have preempted programming, but it was in the
No,
morning, so
I don't think
I
that
think the date's still just wrong.
I don't
but-
think the
coverage
would have gone all day long
Yeah.
after the execution, especially nationally. Not
Yeah.
even- or
And they
maybe
didn't even
locally,
preempt Who's the Boss for the Challenger explosion, so I don't think then that they would
but- yeah,
have been
no,
for Ted
it's
Bundy.
pretty much.
But
yeah.
yes, okay, so when you're watching this episode, just remember that Ted Bundy died that morning. The TV Guide summary says, a scandal over Mona's seductive pose on a magazine cover may cost Jonathan the election for class treasurer.
All right, so I have
What do you have?
Jonathan is running for student council treasurer, which is accurate.
Yeah.
Tony cleverly advises to lure some popular boys and hosts a brownies evening with Sam as, what is this, accidental star? Sorry, I'm reading this for the first time now.
Really?
Really? Yeah, honestly.
Accidental
As if you
star attraction?
I know, accidental star
Is that what I
attraction.
see?
Yes.
Okay.
I just want to make sure I was reading it correctly. I mean, because I watched this episode and it kind of makes sense. However, Mona's loose reputation proves a problem, which exhausts Jonathan's patience with his utterly abnormal grandma.
Utterly abnormal.
I'm just reading what,
Oh, my
what I
goodness.
have in front of me.
Okay. Well, thank you. This episode was written by Bud Weiser.
My favorite.
I know.
I mean, that's a real name,
Yeah,
right?
it's a
That's-
fantastic
Somebody's
name.
real name is
Yeah.
Bud Weiser.
So, unfortunately, Bud Weiser passed away in 2017 at the age of 87.
He wrote a lot of stuff, though.
He did.
Right? Like, not just Who's the Boss, like a lot. Because I remember
I
seeing his
believe
name in
so.
other, like, I
Yes,
feel like
other-
Cheers or.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing Cheers out there, but I feel like other shows like that, of that caliber.
All in the Family.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Budweiser was a name I used
One
to
Day
see
at a Time.
as a kid on the TV and laugh then.
Yeah.
Because
Charles
his name
in
was
Charge,
Budweiser. Okay.
Growing Pains.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I
he
knew that
had a
name
pretty-
was synonymous. Like, it was a well-known, he was a well-known writer.
Now, this is his last episode of Who's the Boss. He worked for Who's the Boss in other capacity, I believe, also,
Okay.
like a producer and such. But this is the last episode he will write for Who's the Boss.
Okay.
He wrote Dinner for Two, Truth in Dating, Guess Who's Coming Forever, Double Date, First Kiss, The Graduate, The Babysitter,
Wow.
and Your Grandmother's a Bimbo.
Wow, I didn't realize he wrote that many episodes.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I mean, he must have worked in a different capacity because I remember seeing his name a lot in the credits and thinking, Budweiser. Because
Me too, I'm telling you. But even, like I said before this podcast, and I remember seeing his name
Yeah, I definitely
everywhere, and
remember.
I would laugh every time.
Once you see
Every time I read his
you
name, I'd
can't
laugh.
forget it.
Every time. Budweiser. And what a great name.
When this episode opens, the kids and Tony are getting ready in the morning for school. They're sitting at the kitchen table, and Tony says, "How about some hot oatmeal?" Then he goes to the cabinet and he grabs 2 packets of instant oatmeal. He throws one to Samantha and she catches it. And then he throws one to Jonathan and it just bounces off his head.
Yeah, I mean, time out though. Was Tony? Did he wake up late today? Like, what happened? Where's the bacon and
that's
eggs
my
and all
question. So
and,
now,
and all the other shit, the pancakes?
Now
hey kids, how about instant oatmeal
right?
today?
Do you
Like,
think that
are we
Tony
running
before
late?
college would have ever made instant oatmeal?
No,
he would have
way.
soaked the oats
Yeah.
all night long, and then the next morning he would have boiled them and
Yeah.
made fresh oatmeal.
Yeah,
a full pot.
steel cut
Yeah.
oatmeal and whatever.
But now that he's in school,
It's
he's hiring
packaged.
other people to do part of his job, and he's making instant oatmeal.
Hey man, gotta make ends meet. Gotta do your thing.
So when the oatmeal bounces off of Jonathan's head, Tony's like,
Which is fantastic.
yeah, he's thinking you must
Poor
have something
Jonathan.
on your mind. And Jonathan's like, I was thinking. And Sam says, oh, just keep the whisker.
I know. Which I didn't catch at first, and then the second time we watched it, I did catch it.
Yes, so funny.
Which makes sense at the end of the
Yes,
episode.
the ending makes much more sense if you hear this joke at the beginning. So yeah, apparently Jonathan has sprouted a whisker, and everyone in the house must know about it.
They all know about it.
He says, no, I'm thinking about running for treasurer of my class. And Tony's like, oh, wow, okay, that sounds good, but keep the whisker also, because it worked for Lincoln.
So I looked it up.
Really?
Yes, because I figured it had something. I mean, there would be something there, right? So, I'm going to try to be brief with this, but you know me, so I'm going to extend the podcast another 20 minutes. But Abraham Lincoln's beard became a part of his image because, well, it really didn't come into existence until he won the presidential election in November of 1860.
Okay.
Lincoln decided to grow out his whiskers in part thanks to some well-meaning advice from a younger supporter. The beard won public approval and may have helped keep Lincoln safe from the assassination plot in 1861, which I guess didn't work. But however, there was an 11-year-old that basically told him that he would have looked better with a beard. That's pretty much what he wouldn't look so.
So some kid with no filter gave some unsolicited advice.
Yes,
he took
an
it.
11-year-old, I
Yeah.
think it said. So, but and that's kind of how he. I mean, there's actually in this article there's a photograph with him
without the
beard, but pretty much that he was told, and then he took that advice and then grew the beard.
All right. Well, that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of works with this, Tony's. Look what it did for Lincoln.
Right.
Yeah.
I would have
We would have never known.
Yeah,
and how would anybody? I mean,
But
a side note, how would
many
anybody watch this episode think, "Oh yeah, Lincoln"?
Yeah, well,
That 11-year-old
most
told him to
people
grow a beard.
Most people are smarter than we are, though.
I
They
don't.
may have
I
paid
don't
more
know.
attention in history.
I don't know. Even back in 1989, I don't think so.
So Jonathan says he's
And
excited.
it's enough for people back then to be like, what does that mean? And they had no way to look it up. No resource like
they had to
we
go
do
to
now.
the encyclopedia and
Oh,
look
yeah,
up.
forget all that.
Yeah,
That's stupid.
Or go to the library and check out a book on Lincoln.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Jonathan says he thinks it'll be fun to run for treasurer because he can keep records and do books and organize files. And Sam's like, oh, yeah, sounds like the fun is never going to stop. Now, Angela comes in. And this is a really cute scene, I think,
Yeah,
between Angela and Jonathan. Because she's all close behind him and talking into his ear. Like, did you think any more about throwing in your calculator for treasurer? And
Calculator. I get it.
And he's like, oh, I don't know. It's going to be tough. And she says, well, then you get tough. You get out there and you pound the pavement, you shake hands, and you kiss babies. So she's really encouraging him to run for treasurer. And we get the obvious impression that at some point last night he talked to his mom about this, which is also sweet.
Oh, yeah.
Tony says, where is he going to find a baby in junior high school? And Jonathan says, Susie Plimpton has one.
Oh, Susie Plimpton. What happened, Susie?
Poor
Wait, now how old is
Susie.
Jonathan at this point?
He's like 12.
Oh my God,
Right?
Susie. What was Susie doing at 12? Hopefully she's older.
Yeah, but what
Like
was...
ninth grade,
Okay, but
junior high.
hang on. What was
Sorry.
the boy that also got her pregnant doing at 12? So
I don't know.
let's not blame
Maybe it
Susie
wasn't
Plimpton for all of this. Yes, or that too. Even worse, it wasn't a boy.
Well, it's somebody just a little older than
Right.
Susie. I don't know.
Tony tells Jonathan to
made
stay
this real
away
dark.
from Susie Plimpton.
Exactly. Which is where I should have left this.
But maybe we should have some compassion for Susie Plimpton.
I know. Poor
I hope
Susie.
she's doing well today.
Well, like Tony's like, stay away from her. Like Susie's got enough of her own problems.
Right. Yeah.
Like, she doesn't
she's
have to
not
worry
going to
about
have her eye on.
Jonathan.
Yeah, she's hoping to get a Jonathan Bauer baby also. I think he's safe.
I know.
And Angela says, we both know you would make a terrific treasurer. You have great ideas. The milk fund, the dance fund.
What's the milk fund?
He's going to sell milk to raise money? I don't know. Or
Well,
he's
what's
going to
the
raise
dance
money
fund?
to buy milk?
Oh, all right.
And then maybe he's going to raise money to have a dance?
Okay.
She says, okay, the pension plan is a little much, but at least you're
Pension
thinking
plan.
the high school or middle school pension plan. So now Jonathan's pumped up. He's like, okay, I'm going to run. Good job, Mom. The phone rings and Tony goes to answer it. On the phone is somebody named Stuart, and he's looking for Angela.
Stuart.
Yeah.
Who's Stuart?
I guess a new guy at work.
That we don't see.
No.
Ever.
No. She hired Jack, and then since Jack, they must have hired more people. Because
they
we're
hired
going to
Stuart.
see. They hired Stuart, and then we're going to see another woman at the office when we go there. So Angela doesn't want to talk to Stuart, so she's making motions like, no, tell him I'm not here. He's like, oh, yeah, she's not here. Then she makes a motion with her thumb towards the door.
I know.
Tony
like,
says...
I'm leaving.
Right.
And what does Tony say?
She's hitchhiking.
Wait, what?
And she's like, no.
She's busy
And he's
hitchhiking.
like,
what?
She's on her way to work. He gets it now. She's on her way to work.
I know, but what would make him think that a woman who lives in Connecticut and owns a Jaguar, right? It's a Jag. She
Yeah.
owns. All of a sudden, I'm going to hitchhike today.
Because she put her thumb up, and then Tony
I know,
he just got
but
confused.
It's so dumb, so sitcom.
So
humor.
then I think Tony says, "Okay, Stewie, we'll see you later," and he hangs up the phone.
Little
Of course, he has a nickname.
I know,
for
just like
everybody.
Mason is Mace.
Mace, yep.
Stewie.
He hangs up the phone. Angela says, "Everyone is driving me crazy with this incentive campaign." He probably wants to tell me about his new margarine idea. So yeah, there is an incentive campaign running at the office right now where you can win a trip to Hawaii.
Oh, I'm in.
Angela says everybody and their mother wants to win this trip. And then guess who walks in?
I know, and says
Mona.
aloha.
Yeah.
Her mother.
Saying, oh, yeah, aloha. And she says,
Not
let's
everyone
get
and
to
their
work.
mother wants to win, just
Everyone
her mother.
And her mother.
Everyone
yes.
and her mother.
Where did Angela get this money to have a... Okay, so,
I know that. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I mean,
You first.
so it's her business. So obviously she's running this incentive campaign. She has Jack, some guy named Stuart,
Miss Stewie.
some lady we've never seen before,
Right.
and Mona.
All competing for
who
Hawaii.
work there. Yeah. So these are the people that are competing to go to Hawaii.
Well, we've seen nobody.
That's a pretty big damn incentive
Yeah.
for her to be able to be footing the bill for it. This small agency.
And why should
the business must be doing
Mona-
well,
why would Mona be qualified for this at all?
right? Because as
She's
far as we
useless.
know, right? As far as we know already, Mona is the receptionist at this point, and not good at her job at all.
I know, and I want Mona's life.
I know.
I'm going to try to win a trip to Hawaii while I live rent-free in my fancy little Fonzie
Yes.
apartment.
Remodeled apartment.
Remodeled
that my
Fonz
daughter
apartment.
pays for.
Right.
And I have
for free.
and this really hot guy does my laundry and
Yeah.
cooks most of my meals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, but Mona today is excited to get to work. She says time is money, and Tony's like, "Oh, you rushing to work? We've entered some sort of parallel universe." But Mona says, "No, this trip for two is mine, and Sam's here's for two." And she's like, "For two? Mona, have I ever told you you're the biggest influence in my life?" And Tony says, "That's why you're not going with her to Hawaii.
Oh.
It's
I
probably
would
for the
let
best."
if I would Tony, I would let
You'd let Mona...
I would let Sam go because I feel like Mona is responsible enough.
Right. We learned in Double Date that Mona's never going to do anything to endanger Samantha.
So that wasn't nice of Tony to say.
But Mona doesn't want to... He knows that Mona doesn't want to go to...
On the flip side.
Right. Mona wants to go to Hawaii and get laid.
She wants to bang her way through Hawaii.
Exactly. So she's not going to take Samantha or Jonathan.
Right.
Tony possibly, not that she would ever try to have sex with him, but they could both go off and do their thing.
And then go to Pound Town.
So Jonathan says to Mona, boy, Grandma, you're pretty sure you're going to win this, aren't you?
Yeah.
And Mona says, there's only one thing I've ever lost in my life, and that was a pleasure.
Right. And then you're like, oh, God. Like, why?
The look on Tony's face, too, is fantastic.
I know.
He's like, Mona... She says, what? I was talking about my braces. And then she smiles.
I know. He's disgusted.
But that's a great, I mean, it's a mediocre joke, whatever. But I think it's a great joke as far as like the older audience is going to get it and the younger audience really isn't.
Not. Right.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure I didn't understand what that meant when I was a kid.
No, right.
So Mona says, come on, Angela, let's go. Oh, wait, we forgot to talk about the muffins. Okay, so this whole time...
Gosh, yes.
When Angela comes into the kitchen, she walks over to the side table, the countertop, and she picks up an enormous plate of like 7 or 8 muffins.
Mind you, this is somebody who only
has juice and coffee.
Has juice and coffee for breakfast.
Yes. And then she sets them down in front of her and looks like she's going to just start digging into all these muffins. She starts on one, and then that's when Mona says it's time to leave.
Right.
So how come the kids weren't offered a muffin? They only get oatmeal. I guess the muffins are for adults. Maybe they're bran. They don't like them. Angela shouldn't have a bran muffin before getting on the train anyway.
I know, right?
Then she's like, but I didn't get to have my breakfast. And Mona says, you can have a breath mint on the train. And she drags her out of there. So then Tony picks up a packet of oatmeal and he says, well, here, take this oatmeal. And he throws it at her as she walks out the door. And you just hear her go, ow!
Right. Oh, and she didn't have that. I guarantee you.
What?
She didn't have the oatmeal, probably.
Oh, no. It just hit her in the head and probably bounced on the ground. She kept walking.
Right.
And Tony says, like mother, like son. Because
he got hit in the head with the oatmeal. Oh, my gosh. But in his defense, he wasn't even looking when it was thrown.
No, he was just sitting there thinking about filing records and making dance
puns.
Calculator. Now, we're going to see a set we've never seen before.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Here is Angela's office at the Bauer Agency. Mona walks in, and Angela's working just feverishly at her desk on something. Mona comes in and tries to steal her Rolodex, what is that, and walk out with it.
Rolodex.
I know, right? Nobody has a Rolodex anymore.
No.
But if anyone really doesn't know what a Rolodex is, it was this thing of index cards where you would either like tape or glue someone's business card to it, or you would write out their information.
Yes.
And then you had them in alphabetical order, and it sat on your desk, and that was basically your little phone book.
Yeah, I actually had
contacts.
one way back.
I'm sure I had one at some point. Now at work, if my 2 years ago when I used to go to an actual place for work, when my desk phone would ring, it would startle me because no one ever even uses the phone anymore. So the other thing about this office is that it is enormous compared to the actual Bauer Agency lobby area.
Yeah.
So they have like Mona and all the files and everything crammed out there. And then Angela is in like a 1,400 square foot little room.
I know, it's humongous.
It is really big.
It's big.
So yeah, Angela says, what are you doing? And Mona says, I'm stealing your Rolodex so I can call your contacts. She wants to land an account so that she can go to Hawaii, meet a billionaire, marry him, and then never have to work for her again.
Wow, that's ambitious.
Yeah, she has a plan here. Angela says, if you want to land an account, why don't you sit in on the meeting that I have with Jake Ashby coming up? And Mona says, Jake Ashby, he's a real babe. And Angela says, Mother, clients are not babes, and if you're going to sit in on this meeting, you need to be dignified and reserved. And Mona asks, may I breathe? And Angela's like, lightly. A woman knocks on the door. Angela says yes, and a lady opens it who we've never seen before. We don't know her name either. They don't say it. But she says, Miss Bauer, Mr. Ashby is here.
Oh, here he is.
And Angela says, send him in. Okay. This actress, though, I looked So her name is Maria Giuliani.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the only thing she's ever done. So again, I don't know if maybe she knew someone or what. And then I was like,
writer,
oh.
but like somebody on the show.
Yeah, like maybe an
that's just
assistant. Yeah.
Right.
And she has no other credits. And then I thought, okay, well, Giuliani, could she possibly be related to the Giulianis? And I can't find any connection. So I don't know.
Okay.
But her name is Maria Giuliani. Hope she's
Short
doing
answer.
well. So now Jay Ashby comes in and they're like, oh, hi, it's so nice to see you. He says, Angela, you look wonderful. What did you do with your hair? And Mona says, are you kidding me? And then she realizes she better keep her act together.
Oh.
She's about to insult her in front of this client. And she says, her hair always looks beautiful. So Angela now introduces Mona as one of her associates, Mona Robinson. And I don't get the impression that there has actually been some sort of promotion that we didn't know about. I think she's just calling her an associate so that he doesn't know that her mom is sitting in on this meeting to try to win the trip to Hawaii. Angela says, if you don't mind, she'll be sitting in here. Now, this actor who's playing Jay Ashby, or Jake Ashby, sorry.
Who I was pretty convinced I knew, but I don't really recognize him from anything.
His name is Thomas Calloway. I know he really does look familiar, but nothing that he's done really stands out. Now, he was on Soap. He was in an episode of Soap, so I don't know if it's possible that he may have also known Katherine Hellman before this. He was in an episode of WKRP in Cincinnati. Laverne and Shirley. So I think he's just one of those faces that's kind of stuck in our head.
Right.
Yeah. 10 episodes of Falcon Crest. I know I watched that as a kid, but...
You did or you didn't?
I did, yeah. My mom watched it.
You did? I did watch that show.
You didn't? Or you did?
I did not,
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, no. My mom watched Falcon Crest, so I'm pretty sure I watched that. Knots Landing, Dynasty, all those. So Angela says, she's going to sit in here and observe our meeting. She's going to be learning. Jake says, you'll be learning from the master.
Mm.
And he says, I know I worship the ground she walks on.
Wow.
Okay. So, yeah, Jake is very, familiar with Angela in sort of a creepy way.
Right.
But like you were saying, this probably didn't seem that unusual in the 80s.
No, probably not back then.
Yeah, because,
Jake grabbed Angela's ass several times, and it was just, she looked the other way, because there was no Me Too or anything, and...
Right.
And you know what I mean? So
yeah,
it probably just happened, and it's unfortunate and sucks, but...
Yeah. He's giving her his business, and, so he's just, very touchy-feely with her. Angela says, I've devised a 3-point plan to reverse the downward sales of Mature Woman magazine. Hey. So he has a magazine. Apparently, it's not doing well. Angela's going to try to fix it. So the first one is they're going to use demographic research to increase television exposure in selected areas.
Check one.
And he says, that's good. She says, number 2, we're going to piggyback a mail-in sweepstakes promotion. What is that? With a
mail-in sweepstakes. That's great.
I know, but that would have been huge back then. But
that was the thing. Like, imagine back then when you mailed in and then you waited and you just hoped for the best. Now it's like text in, blah, blah, blah. If you won instantly.
Even when you when you bought stuff out of a magazine, I don't know. I'm just trying to think of the
things
that they would,
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Figurines.
I know exactly what you're talking about when you would just order out for something.
You fill out the
and you
form.
Waited 6 freaking weeks
it
or
always
whatever.
Said 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh my gosh, it's the times of we have now we just have to have this instant gratification. Like if I Google something and the thing doesn't come up right away and there's something wrong with the internet, I get so freaking frustrated.
When I order
we have no
on
patience
Amazon,
now for nothing.
If it doesn't have 2-day or 1-day, I don't even bother.
Or what if when you order something on Amazon and then there's a delay all of a sudden? Oh my God, it's not coming in 2 days.
I know.
It's coming in freaking 3 days. And you get so mad. Not you, I'm just saying people in general.
I know.
It's just so true. And back then.
You waited a long time.
Sent out a magazine thing and waited. I remember sending out for stuff.
So if you ordered something I guess that's why people did most of their shopping in brick and mortar stores.
Right,
because for Christmas, you'd have to start in October if you wanted something to actually be here.
I mean, it just wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
There's no way it was a thing.
But now it's like, okay, well, I can get it on Amazon in 2 days, or I could put pants on and go to Target. And I could have it right then, but I have to physically move,
Put
so I
pants
don't
on.
do it.
Like he's just sitting around like Winnie the Pooh with just a shirt and no pants all day long.
No one would know I'm on Zoom.
I'm putting pants on now.
I mean like real pants.
I know what you're
not
saying.
pajama pants. Okay, so he says, so he likes the mail-in sweepstakes idea. Good again.
Good.
Number 3, reduce subscription rate to every retirement village in the country in the age range for this magazine.
Okay.
Wow.
All right.
And then Jake says, Angela, I'm impressed. You've been doing some good work. And she says, thank you. And he says, but it's just not going to work for me. It's been great.
I'm out.
Great seeing you. And then he leaves. I don't really know what Jake came here looking for.
Me either. Like, I agree with
It's
you.
really
like,
vague. Yeah.
like she has charts and graphs and they don't, I mean, I don't know anything, but they don't sound like terrible ideas.
Yeah, like I don't know if he gave her what he was looking for in a campaign.
Right.
It was
He's
basically
I've
like
gotta-
help us boost our sales. I don't know. It just seems odd because then the campaign they actually end up going with is more like something that should have been done internally in the business and not an advertising campaign.
True.
But anyway, it's just one of the things in this episode that kind of doesn't make sense.
Well, yeah, there's a couple things, but we'll get to those.
Angela says, wait, Jake, give me a chance here. I know that I can do. So you didn't even let me get into other ideas. We can discuss this.
Right.
And Mona's like, yeah, you should just trash it. And he says, pardon me? And Mona says, Jake, there's something that you need to know about the women who read your magazine. They're actually still alive.
Right.
She says, look at these articles about like ceramic painting, retirement homes, and my personal favorite, your garden. Is it for fun or your final resting place?
Final resting place.
And Mona says, I know I'm speaking out of turn, but I have to say these things. And someone's got to tell you that the dame on this cover hasn't been around since the Truman administration. And then she shows the woman on the cover who's like the happy little
I don't know who it is.
older woman. I know.
I know.
And I wonder, who is that woman? Was it just a stock photo they got? Or was it somebody's family member and they thought it would be fun to let them be on the cover?
Who knows?
I know, little things like that I really wish I did know. But Mona says, let's just rip this whole magazine apart and revamp it to attract exciting, mature women like me.
Okay.
And she says, what do you think? And he thinks it's brilliant. And Angela says, I do too. And he says, you've got yourself an account, but I want her to be the account executive on this, pointing to Mona. And here's where he's also very touchy-feely with Angela. She goes
I
to
know,
like...
I feel like he was trying to make out with her this whole scene.
Yeah, like he's touching both of her arms.
me too.
Like, and again,
Hashtag
I
me
feel
too.
like this probably wouldn't have been at all like odd to see in the 80s.
I know,
maybe.
no, man, he's running things.
Now behind Mona here, there's another door next to. Do you think Angela has her own bathroom in this office? This office is huge.
Maybe. Just go in there and drop off.
I know. Poor Mona probably has to go to the bathroom down the hall with everybody
in
else.
the lobby.
Either that or it's a closet. Who knows?
I bet you Mona blows up her Angela's bathroom.
Oh, you mean she goes and uses that one when Angela's not
she
there?
doesn't
Oh,
care.
yes,
She
absolutely.
doesn't care.
Yeah. Okay,
She
so
uses it when she is there.
that's true. Now they cut to the house and we zoom in with some
weird music
yeah.
going.
And Tony is sitting on the couch trying to study for his philosophy class. Now, this isn't Mason anymore, right? Okay.
What?
Because wasn't he studying philosophy in Mason's class?
Oh, is that what
Or
it
that
was?
was Western
Yeah, I
civilization.
think
Okay,
so.
so this is a different class. And plus, Mason doesn't teach anymore. He's repeating the words, existence precedes essence, over and over again.
It's so intense.
I know, and he's like, what does it mean?
Existence precedes essence.
And there's music blasting from upstairs.
Which
so
is great.
he yells upstairs, hey, Sam, can you turn that down? And she's like, what? I can't hear you. And he says, turn down the music. So he tells her, I'm trying to do my philosophy homework. He says, I think the stereo is blasting, therefore I'm going to make you turn it down. And she says, well, one man's loud music is another man's, and he says migraine. So they're just like throwing back cliched
Right.
philosophy quotes to each other. And then she says, "Okay, Plato." And he's like, "Oh, I see what you did there."
Right. I see what
leaves.
you did there.
And he sits down, and he's still going, "Existence precedes essence." Well, now Jonathan walks in, and he sees that Tony is studying. But we know everybody goes to Tony for advice. So Tony's not going to be able to study. He's going to have to work now.
Give advice.
Yeah.
Right.
So he's like, "Okay, Jonathan, you need something?" And Jonathan says, "I'm behind in the polls." So he is running for treasurer, and I guess it's not going well. He's like, "They have polls in middle school?" And he's like, "Well, today at lunch, 1 kid sat next to me and 28 sat next to my opponent." That's Jonathan's informal poll of how this is going.
Right.
Tony assures him that polls have a large margin of error. And Jonathan says, "Just face it, Tony, I'm not very popular." But Tony's like, you can turn this around, Jonathan. You just got to get out there. You got to be more outgoing, be friendly, and smile more. The most successful politicians have a big smile. So then he shows him, "Let me show you our $100 smile." And it's like a little smile. And then he says, "Here's my $1,000 smile." And it's a bigger smile. And then And then he says, "Here's my knock 'em dead smile, $1 million smile." And he looks ridiculous. He's smiling like a child posing for a photo when they don't really understand how to smile yet. And then he says, "Now you try it." And Jonathan just kind of makes a little smirk. And he's like, "Well, that's worth about $1.25, but we'll keep working on it." So then he's like, "You got any other ideas?" And he's like, "Okay, well, maybe try to get some endorsements." He says, "If you get a few influential kids to vote for you, the rest will follow." So that seems like a decent idea to Jonathan. He's like, "Okay, well, hang on. I can get Troy Richmond. He's the captain of the football team, and he beat me up, so I know him."
Oh, wow.
And he said he can get Dwayne Barfield, the president of the Humanitarian Club, because he also beat him up. The president of the Humanitarian Club beat him up. So now Tony's like, "Okay, there you go. You get those 2 people to vote for you, and you're going to have a landslide going." So Jonathan's all excited. He goes and runs upstairs. Tony goes back to trying to study. Existence precedes essence. And now Mona walks in. And she's like, "Are you busy?" And he's like, "No." And he puts his book down. Mona says she's just so frustrated with the campaign. And Tony's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. You'll come up with something." And she's like, "I've got writer's block. I've got ad block. I've got sunblock that I can't use."
What does that mean? Is that a Hawaii reference?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
And he tells...
Sunblock that I can't use.
She says she should be on the beach drinking a pina colada with a big kahuna. So this is all still...
Oh, it is a Hawaii reference.
Right.
Yeah.
So that she can get to Hawaii. You would think that Mona might be inspired a little bit by the work, but she's not at all.
Well, but then Tony doesn't give any good advice. He says,
he just tells her to finish the account.
He says, "Come up with something and finish this account." And then she says, "Right, I wish I could find that sizzle in it." But he doesn't help.
No, but I guess that was all the help she needed.
All right, the fact that get yourself to Hawaii and get yourself some
right. And
dudes.
He tells her, "Do what you do best. You're outrageous. Shake things up."
Okay, so maybe
that's the advice that she's gonna follow. And she's like, "Okay."
Well,
good.
And then that leads to her half naked on the cover.
Right.
But whatever.
So then she leaves, and Tony's still...
Existence precedes essence. Persistence exceeds essence.
What does it mean?
What does it mean?
And Angela walks by on her...
I guess on her way to the bathroom.
She has to be on her way to the bathroom.
She's got to take a dump or something.
I think she just has to pee. Leave her alone. She said, "But what if there's nothing else back there?" And she says, because if she had to poop, I think she'd go upstairs.
Maybe the laundry's done. Oh, well, that'll be Tony.
Right. What do you mean maybe the laundry's done?
Well, is it Tony's day off?
I don't know what day of the week it is.
I don't either. I don't know where I'm at in this podcast.
Of course you don't.
Let alone what day of the week it is.
Okay, so she says it means that the fact that you exist at all is more important than who you are.
Thank God somebody led him in the right direction. Because
so now...
he was just going to keep reading the same stupid thing over and over again.
But see, I also think that the conversation between Jonathan and him and Mona and him is supposed to mirror what the phrase means.
Yes, because I think that comes up again later.
I think so.
When
because
he's reading it again and then Jonathan comes in. which we'll get to that.
Yeah, like I feel like they're loosely kind of related because
Yes.
it says that first the quote was coined by Jean-Paul Sartre, which I'm probably not saying correctly.
Right.
And it's the proposition that existence precedes essence is a central claim of existentialism, which reverses the traditional philosophical view
I know. You sound
that
like me
the
now.
essence of a thing is more important than its existence.
All
To
right.
existentialists, human beings, through their consciousness, create their own value and determine a meaning for their life, because the human being does not possess any inherent identity or value.
Wow.
So he was basically giving advice for Jonathan to do these things to shape his future.
Right.
And the same with Mona. So I think it's supposed to like loosely be related to the quote that he's studying at the
Well,
moment.
that's fair.
Even though what Angela says doesn't necessarily explain it that way, I think it still means the same thing. And then as she goes to pee, he says, she took that course already.
I know.
He closes his book, all disgusted. So now it's a few days later. And Jonathan's at the house, and he opens up the front door, and there's a boy standing there. It's Troy. So he's like, and he's wearing like a football Letterman's jacket.
It's so tough looking.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, thanks for coming in. Thanks for coming over. And Troy's like, yeah, where's this fox Samantha you told us about?
I like that he walks in and says, "What are you smiling at?" Maybe he's smiling because you showed up. I don't know.
And hopefully you're not going to beat him up.
No, poor Jonathan. He's trying so hard here.
Danny Pintauro doesn't close the door all the way.
Yeah, well.
Because now the door is like a little cracked
Well,
for
there's
the
no
rest of the
animals
scene.
running around this house, so who cares?
Yeah, and Grover's dead, so
Yeah, right.
now he wouldn't have to worry
Grover's
about him
dead.
getting out. Okay, so now there are 3 boys and 2 girls out over at the house. He's lured the boys over with the fact that he has an attractive, quote unquote, older sister.
Mm-hmm.
So they're hoping to see Samantha. He lured one of the girls over with a Def Leppard video, and another girl over with brownies.
I know. What kind of racket is Jonathan running here?
So there's only one recognizable face in this group of young actors, and that is Jonathan Brandis. So I can't find anything that Troy and Heather and Sean and Jasmine, it doesn't seem that they've done anything other than like a few like guest spots here and there.
Okay.
But Jonathan Brandis was well known for Sequest. I believe that was like the early 2000s.
Okay. Yeah, I think I remember that.
It was called Sequest 2032. He was in 57 episodes of it.
Oh, wow.
And I think that's what I recognize him most. But
Oh, so
unfortunately...
you actually watched this show?
Sequest?
Sequest.
I think I saw a few episodes because
Okay.
they shot some of it in Orlando, I remember.
Oh, gosh, that is ringing a bell.
Yeah,
to
because a
me,
lot
now
of
that
kids
you've said that.
at college were extras in it.
But
if
I
at the
remember
time.
that just because living in Orlando at the time and knowing, you know how like Orlando was supposed to become Hollywood East
Yeah,
and
that
like
never
all these
happened.
shows that were supposedly supposed to start shooting there.
Yeah.
I mean, they shot movies there and stuff, but
Yeah.
not like nothing like here. But anyway,
And not that early.
no, I mean,
This was 93 to 96 because I was in college. But
Oh,
I do
okay.
remember that.
well, I mean, I think it started in the mid. It was beginning then, around that time. That was like coming into fruition. Like, oh, Orlando's going to be like Hollywood East, and they were going to try to start shooting a lot of stuff then. And it was early to mid '90s. I do remember that. Anyway,
I
sorry.
also remember him from It, the original It, which I watched as a kid, I guess, teenager.
Oh, okay.
I loved it, and he was in that.
Okay.
Unfortunately, he died in 2003.
Oh my goodness.
Yes, by committing suicide. So in his bio, it says that his career stalled for a bit, and he was hoping that a role in a serious drama film, Heart's War, in 2002 would relaunch it.
Oh.
However, most of his scenes ended up being cut from the finished film. This caused him to fall into a deep depression in which he would drink heavily and tragically end his own life on November 12th, 2003. So that is devastating.
Yeah.
I remember that happening, I think. So 2003, we would have been in late 20s, I think. I kind of remember that at the time, but
Yeah, I suppose. I'll take that.
so Troy wants to know when he gets to see Samantha, and all the other kids are just kind of standing around staring him down. And Jonathan's like, she'll be here soon, but let me tell you why I'm running for office. So he starts campaigning to them. And they're not really listening, but kind of listening. And the one girl says, listen, when are we going to get to see the Def Leppard video? And the other girl says, where are those chocolate brownies you promised us?
Whoa, what did Jonathan promise here?
So he's like,
you come to my house, you're going to see my hot sister, sort of, a Def Leppard video, and I'm going to feed you brownies. Right. How does that sound? So everybody just followed.
Yeah, they're like, okay,
We're
sure.
in.
I mean, I would have gone just for the brownies, honestly.
I guess so, yeah. There was something for everyone.
Now, Jonathan runs into the kitchen because he's like, we got to get on these brownies. And Angela's there pouring milk in the glasses. Sorry. And Tony's working on the brownies. And she says, hey, honey, how's it going? And he says they're hungry and they're hostile. Tony says, okay, here, take these out there, and get them going. And they're all excited for Jonathan. So Angela's like, I have a feeling he's going to be okay. And Tony's like, yeah, I'll make more brownies.
I know, but then Tony says that he put walnuts in them to sway the chubby vote.
Oh, yes. I missed that part somehow.
That part kind of pissed me off. Like, the brownies are going to sway the chubby vote.
Yeah, but let's not sway the chubby vote at all. Let's leave the chubby out of it.
That's true. Like,
it swayed my chubby vote, but let's just leave it out.
I know I'm completely burying the obvious here.
You're more upset
but
about the
walnuts are very healthy. It's like the second. I don't even want to call it a nut. Is a walnut an?
It is a nut.
Yeah.
It says it in the name.
Freaking in the name, walnut. but I mean, it's the second from the. What's the healthiest one? The almond.
Almond, I think.
Almond, and then walnut, and then that's it, and then after that, whatever
the nuts go downhill.
Or they go downhill like walnuts. But Tony's that's going to sway the chubby vote.
Maybe in 1989 they didn't realize the health benefits of walnuts just yet.
Oh, it's a terrible thing for Tony to say anyway.
It is all around. All
right, once again, I've derailed you.
Now Jonathan comes back out. He's feverishly, I've used that word twice now, handing out brownies to keep them from beating him up. And he's like, okay, so more about why I should be elected. And then right then Samantha walks in. And they all turn and stare at her. Even the girls.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Tony's like, I'm going to make more brownies.
Yeah.
What? You're just going to whip them right up?
I know,
while
right?
everybody's there, you're going to whip up.
So going to start up a hole. Because he's not making it out of a box. He's getting flour and eggs.
It's going to take a long time to make more brownies.
Right.
These kids are not going to be long gone when those brownies are done.
Exactly. And then 30 to 40 minutes to bake. I know.
Sorry. Anyway, Samantha walks in.
Angela will eat them anyway. Yeah, so Samantha walks in.
Angela will eat them anyway.
Everyone turns around and stares at her.
I know.
She does. Alyssa Milano does shut the door all the way.
Finally.
She knows that something's going on. So she calls Jonathan over to her. And she says,
I know.
I don't know what you're up to.
Actually.
I know.
So funny.
She puts her arm around him. And she says, I don't know what you're up to. But if I find out and it isn't good, you'll be eating these brownies through a straw.
That means she's going to beat him up so bad he has to be hospitalized, and then somebody has to make the brownies liquid,
right,
and then he gets to suck them into a straw.
Just
so everybody's aware of what that means.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Samantha's never actually beat up Jonathan, has she?
I know, but
3 other people in this room
that's what
have,
that means. But that was a big thing that he said back then. You're
right.
going to be eating that through a straw.
Yes. So then she looks at all the kids and she says, have a nice day. And she goes upstairs.
I know.
But that was enough for those boys.
I know.
They're like, wow, she was hot.
Face? Wow, beautiful and vicious.
Yeah.
That's what he said, the football player kid said. Come on.
He says, I like that in a woman.
Bauer.
And Jonathan's like, okay, so can I give my speech now? And they're like, forget about your speech.
And we've seen enough. We got the brownies.
Yeah, we got brownies.
We saw your hot sister.
Kind of sister,
whatever she is.
They say, you're not as geeky as we thought, and we'll tell everyone to vote for you. Yeah. And Jonathan Brandis actually delivers that line. And then right then, Angela comes out holding 6 enormous glasses of milk. And she says, attention, it's the Milk Patrol.
The Milk Patrol. Oh, my God. She almost ruined it for everybody.
She did. All these kids are so much bigger than Jonathan, too. Are they supposed to be in the same grade?
I don't know. I have no idea.
And Tony's like, you're going to cost him the vote. And Jonathan comes
Meanwhile.
over all excited. He's like, they're going to support me. It worked. And he says,
All right,
Paul
sure,
even
whatever.
says, I'm not as geeky as he thought. And Tony's like, oh, there you go. That's all you needed to hear.
That's right.
So just then, Mona comes in. And she says, everyone congratulate me. I just came from Jake's office, and he loved my new ideas. And Angela's very excited for her. She says, wonderful. And Mona says, when I showed him the new cover, he did a somersault.
Oh.
And Angela says, okay, well, let's see it. And then Mona says, the somersault? Not in this dress. Silly.
Ba-doom. Like she's going to recreate this.
Right. And Angela says, no, the cover. And she's like, okay. So she says to Tony, you told me to do what I do best. And I took Mature Woman in a whole new direction, inside and out. Okay, but would not be an advertiser's job, right? Like, basically what she's done with this magazine is what you would do internally within the magazine. Like, she's revamping all the articles they do and shooting the cover. Like, an ad company wouldn't have anything to do with that. The ad company is marketing the product, and she just completely changed the product. Anyway, it's not a big deal.
I know. Like you're reading into
But
it
it's
way
just
too much.
another ridiculous thing
Come on.
that doesn't really make sense in this episode. Okay, so she pulls out the cover and holds it up, and it is Mona.
Yep.
I gotta freeze this so I can really describe this. She's
Upside down.
Yeah, so yes,
Boobies
the
hanging
picture's
out.
taken upside down. She's laying on a bed with
Well,
like
all
white
white
satin
sheets.
sheets.
And then she has like
A
a white
telephone that probably
something.
doesn't look old then, but looks old now.
No, it looks pretty old then, I bet.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah,
dial phone.
that's true. You're
By
right.
then they had push button phones.
Yeah,
That's an
yeah.
old looking phone.
Rotary. Like, we had one of these and I thought it was cool, but I think it was like a vintage looking thing at the time.
Right.
She's wearing white pantyhose,
It's
stockings,
a bit of a mess.
like some sort of white lingerie,
White
and then like
something situation.
a white boa all wrapped around her. She's on the phone and her hair is kind of like splayed all around her head on the pillow.
Yeah.
And then the articles are romance after 60, year-round resort travel, and chic boudoir fashions. Jonathan says, wow, who's the babe? And then Mona...
Which is immediately creepy.
But he doesn't know.
I know, but it's still
I know. And
weird.
so then she turns the magazine upside down so that we can get a better look at her face. And he says, Grandma? And then he starts to
my
back
God.
up
I know,
because
he's freaked out.
Yeah, he's completely freaked
And he's
out.
embarrassed because all his friends are there.
Yes.
Or whatever these people are.
And Angela says, Mother? And Tony says, Mona? And then Troy from the school says, that's your grandmother?
I know, terrible.
And Jonathan's trying to distract them. So he says, more brownies, anyone? But every single kid is staring at Mona on the magazine cover.
Yeah, that's it.
And Tony says, I think they're more interested in the cheesecake.
Okay, so like they're not interested in the brownies, but they're interested in the cheesecake. Let me tell you what
Yes, tell us what that means.
cheesecake meant, because I'm like the multiple times we watched the episode, I'm like, what does that mean? Is they're more interested in the cheesecake?
Yeah, I really didn't think it was going to be anything. My thought was he was just comparing it like they're more interested in this dessert than that dessert.
I know, but no.
But you were right. It means something.
Cheesecake, to describe a sexy, attractive woman flaunting her appeal, is nowadays a rather archaic term, is what this article says.
Yeah.
So, like back then, that was how you...
But when? Does it say when?
I don't... It's a really... Yes,
It's gotta be
I did my
really
research.
old.
It's a very old
Okay. But
term.
Tony
Like
would know
before
it.
the 80s, but
Right.
like, I think maybe like adults
Yeah, would
back
have
in the
gotten it.
80s would have known what a cheesecake is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel like it was a joke for the adults.
Right. And it works
says-
for Tony because he makes older references. So.
Right, because it says, likewise, in reference to a hunk with rippling muscles would be a beefcake. That's also rather outdated, I guess, in a
I
way.
see.
So,
Okay,
so a
right.
man would be a beefcake and a woman would be a cheesecake. It's also stupid. I can't even believe I'm reading this, but Not that sex appeal itself was any passé, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, that's what this article pretty much states is the origins of like the beefcake and the cheesecake. So
Very interesting.
but I feel like, again, that the adults
Yeah.
would back in the 80s would have been like, that's funny. They knew what a cheesecake was.
Right.
When us as adults now or anyone else would know what a cheesecake. I don't know. It makes me hungry for cheesecake because I really like cheesecake. Anyway, I don't know. As you were.
Okay, so now it's a day or so later, and Tony is dusting around the living room, picking up stuff on the little table behind
Right.
the couch.
Yes.
But on an easel behind that, the magazine cover is displayed in the middle of the living room. So he goes over and then he starts to pretend to dust it, or like he is dusting it, but he's trying not to look at it.
And then what's that blue thing? Is that a Frisbee?
That's that weird candy dish that's been
I know,
sitting on
it
the
looks like
back
a
table.
Frisbee.
I know. I don't understand what it is.
What the freak is that?
So then he can't help himself, and he starts to look at the cover, and he's really getting a good look when
I know,
Angela
I'm
walks
like,
in.
There's Mona, cheesecake.
So then when Angela walks in, she startles him, and he says, "I was just reading the articles." And she's like, "What?" And he's like, "Oh,
Because
sorry,
you know what that's
it was
within
a
the-
reflex."
You know
yes,
what that's in reference to, right?
that's
Playboy.
in reference to Play. Right.
Right,
That-
everybody always got Playboy for the articles,
Right.
never for the naked women in
Right,
between the
exactly.
articles. Okay.
And that was probably
wanna
like
make
his
sure you
standard
knew
line
that.
if he got caught looking at Playboy or something when he
Yep.
was younger. And Angela looks at the cover and she's like, Tony, I just really don't know how I feel about this. Like, personally, I wouldn't have used these tactics. And Tony says,
That's Angela.
right. Tony
We're
says,
talking about Mona here.
personally, you couldn't have used these tactics.
Come on, Tony. Tony, if you ever think you're going to get in that other bedroom across the hall, it's not with lines like that. Man, come on. This is why this show
know.
goes. This is why this show doesn't
know
go
that-
anywhere.
We know that he finds her attractive.
I know.
So, like, why would you say something? I
You
mean,
just let her
yes,
know.
obviously
I
she's...
find you attractive, but you don't have boobies.
Right.
Or you don't have this. Or whatever. I mean.
I like what you do have.
Hey, I think you're hot.
But
could
yeah.
use some boobs.
But
Pretty much what he's saying.
Angela could have looked sexy like that if she wanted to.
Well,
Okay, anyway. So Mona comes in and she says, "Boy, is it difficult to find a bikini in the dead of winter." So
Oh,
she's
boy.
all ready for her Hawaii trip.
yeah, she's.
So do
full
we know that
throttle.
she's won the trip? Like, they
I don't
never
know.
really say.
Yeah.
She holds up the skimpiest
There's a lot of
little
missing pieces in this episode.
right now. She holds up the skimpiest little bikini, and then Tony pretends to dust it, and he says, "No worry about tan lines there," and he walks away.
Yeah. And then in comes
Yes. So in comes Jonathan.
Jonathan. Not good.
And we know something's wrong because he's holding his head down and his
Yeah.
hair is all messed up.
Yeah.
And he's trying to quickly make it up the stairs.
Yes.
But Angela notices that something's wrong and she's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." And she grabs his shoulders and she looks at his face. And he has a huge black eye. She says, "You got in a fight." Tony comes over and takes a look and he's like, "Oh, it's not too bad. But hopefully it at least got you four more votes."
No. 4 more votes.
And they're trying to get him to talk about it. He doesn't want to talk about it. And Mona comes over and she's like, "Oh, Slugger, that looks pretty bad, but what does the other guy look like?" Everyone's trying to make him feel a little bit better about the fact that he got beat up at school.
All right.
And then he's like, "Leave me alone." And he looks at Mona and he says, "Especially you. I just want
Ooh.
everybody to leave me alone." And he goes running up the stairs. And they all kind of look at each other like, what happened? So Mona goes upstairs to talk to him because he said to her, "Especially you." So they figure it has something to do with her.
Yeah.
She comes in and she's like, "Hey, bub, what's the story?" And he's like, "You're in my room and I don't want you here and my name's not Bub." So she's up there to get the scoop on the fight. Okay, we got to talk about this bedroom a little bit here. Behind Jonathan, you figured out what this is because I didn't know. But there's a Boba Fett.
Yeah, it's Boba Fett's. Air. I don't want to say
fighter
airplane.
plane or-
Fighter plane. Thank you. Airplane. That would be terrible. Get my ass kicked for that one. Yeah, it's actually his fighter. That's his fighter jet or whatever,
And-
which is actually very cool. And that thing is now like $200 and $300 on eBay and some other sites. So
Really?
yeah, I looked it up, and
Wow.
I was trying to look up what I wanted to make sure it was Boba Fett's fighter jet. So, and then the rest of the stuff, I don't know what anything else is in the background.
Well, it looks
I do know that's
yeah.
Boba Fett's fighter jet.
I know. I can't tell there's stuff on the headboard, but
I
then there
don't
are
know.
2 framed pictures of actual butterflies
Oh, okay.
over his bed, which is
makes
kind
sense.
of odd for Jonathan. But then you think, oh, well, because they're actual like insects, so that's kind of
Right.
Yeah. Then he still has the old like fire truck wallpaper, which he probably really wants to get rid of, but Tony hasn't had a chance to do it yet.
Get rid of.
And it looks like on the shelf, what do they call those really tall things in Star Wars?
Oh, like an AT-AT walker?
Yeah, it looks
Oh,
like
I
that
see
could
that.
be,
Yeah, but it's
yeah.
got like a green top.
I
which
know,
is
that's what
weird,
I was
but-
confused about, so it might not be.
Yeah, I see that now. I did not notice the AT-AT walker until now.
Then his lamp on his nightstand is some awesome, like, old cowboy lamp.
I know, what am I thinking of?
You're thinking of Howdy Doody, maybe?
Howdy Doody.
But it's
But
not
Dudley.
him. It's
Doody.
what?
Nothing. I was coming
Oh.
up with my own name of something that doesn't exist. Howdy Doody is exactly what I was trying to think of.
Then, like, the standard Jonathan stuff. There's a dinosaur
I like a
on the
dinosaur
wall.
and some other
a
stuff.
coat rack.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
A parrot for some reason.
That's actually great.
We don't
this
see any
room.
actual reptiles, but maybe they're on
No.
the wall that we can't see.
That's true.
Maybe Mona's looking at them right now.
The fourth wall.
So she's like, well, I want the scoop on this story, on this fight. And he's like, well, you're going to be standing there a while because I don't want to talk to you. And she just continues to stand there. And he's like, okay, well, do you want to know? What they said is that you're a bimbo. All the kids at school said your grandmother's a bimbo.
Wow.
Because they heard about the picture, the cover that she did for the magazine. And he sits back down. The other awesome thing in this room is the bedspread. So that on his bed is like what I always knew of as a bedspread.
Right.
Which is different than a comforter. Because how do you sleep with that thing? Like
I know,
that
it's
thing has to just
it wraps
come off
around
the
the
bed.
entire bed. Right.
Yeah. Like it has the corners that actually go down.
Around the bed.
Yes, they don't make those anymore,
Yeah,
I don't think.
that's interesting.
Which is good. Because, yeah, I guess you have to just pull that whole thing off the bed at night.
Right.
And then get under just the sheets. Or maybe there's a blanket underneath there. I don't know. That's ugly as anything. Oh, and then in the background, we've got a globe, a telescope, a microscope.
Yeah. All
windmill.
All kind of Jonathan
Yeah.
things.
I mean, it is a little haphazard here.
It is.
Than like an old crayon thing.
That's
like,
true.
It's funny. You can see some elements of when he was younger and then some newer things. But I feel like that's pretty standard in an actual kid's bedroom, too, you know? Like
True.
some of the stuff sticks around from when they're younger and they get rid of some of it. So, yeah. So he's upset with her because all the kids at school were saying that she's a bimbo. And she's like, oh, okay. Well, I've been called worse things. And he's like, this isn't funny. You think that everything is funny, and it's not funny to me. Mona asks Jonathan, what did you say when they said that about me? He said, I didn't say anything. I slugged the little creep.
Oh.
She went down like a ton of bricks.
Of course, it was a...
Okay, so I was actually surprised that they had a joke in this show about Jonathan hitting a girl. Because I feel like as long as I can remember, it's always been that boys should never hit girls.
I know, but I think that the joke is that...
And then he says,
I'm trying to explain it like he's so wimpy that's who he hit.
right.
He didn't hit a boy, he hit a girl.
Yeah.
I know.
Because she was
I'm
the
not
one
saying
that-
any of it's
No,
right.
no, no.
I'm just trying to.
And
I'm
whatever,
trying to
I
like
think
epitomize the '80s right now. I guess.
she probably did deserve it because
I know. I know. I
Jonathan
mean,
is
beyond
so
that,
small.
like even though Jonathan should not have
But-
hit a woman,
But
I
then
just,
her boyfriend beat him up because then
Right.
she didn't hit him back. It was the boyfriend.
right. So he leveled.
But
the
we
girl,
know that
and
Jonathan
then
has
she-
been beaten up by a girl before.
Right. I know.
And
None
Mona's
of
like,
it's
oh,
good.
you defended my honor. And he says, watch it. She goes over to give him a hug. And he says, watch it. I've already nailed one woman today.
Oh God.
Did that not have the same meaning?
No,
Back
it didn't.
then?
It did not. It couldn't have.
I know, because
It
now
couldn't
it
have,
sounds really
right?
awkward. Because we know that he's saying that he has already fought one woman today.
Right.
But hearing that phrase come out of a child's mouth is just kind
terrible.
of creepy.
Right, that's awful.
Yes, but so I can't imagine it was known for that back
Anywho.
then. After he says that, Mona says, "Ooh, feisty. That reminds me of me." And Jonathan says, "I'm nothing like you. Like I act my age. I don't go around ruining other people's lives." And he's like, "I could have been somebody. I could have been a treasurer."
Oh, wow.
Isn't that a Godfather? Is that a Godfather reference?
I don't know.
I could have been a contender.
Yeah, I think so. I think
don't
you're
know
right.
if it's Godfather, but I
I
think
should have known that.
it's some movie. I'll keep going. You can look it up if you want. And Mona says, I didn't do this to hurt you. And he's like, why can't you just be a normal grandmother like everyone else? They knit and they bake. And she says, I tried a long time ago to be like other grandmothers, but it just didn't work. She sits down. She's like, you can't make yourself be something that you're not. This whole exchange kind of just lands a little flat to me. And he doesn't want to hear it. He gets up and he leaves the room. He's still upset with her. And she's tearing up a bit. She does a great job and he does too. I mean, especially, this is kind of more dialogue than we've seen Danny Pintauro have in a long time. So I think he is doing a good job here. And she's doing a really good job as well with it.
The I could have been a contender was from On the Waterfront.
Oh,
it was
okay.
Marlon Brando on the Waterfront,
Okay,
which I
okay.
wouldn't have known.
Okay.
So
So
it's not one of those things I'm looking at like, oh, I should have known that. I've never seen On the Waterfront, but I know know of
it's
the
just like
movie
a
and I know
famous
of the
line.
quote.
Yeah.
But I don't
Right.
know, and I'm probably less educated for not knowing that movie. But in my
I've never seen it either. I
Right.
just knew the line.
Okay.
Okay, so then
Sorry.
What lands weird for me here is like Mona just says like, "Oh, I tried to be, one of those grandmothers and I just couldn't do it."
Right.
But I want her to be like, "This is who I am."
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Like I'm not
And-
like a normal grandma who does nothing but like cross stitch and
right.
sits around the house. I'm kind of wild. What I'm saying is you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I feel
She
like
should
she's
have been like, "This is who I
apologizing for
am."
it when she shouldn't
And
be.
maybe this isn't what traditional grandmas are or
Right.
what you think they are, but this is what I am.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. And
Right.
and the problem is with, your friends and not with me.
Right.
Basically. But I don't know if maybe we would have had that feeling in the 80s. Like
Right.
maybe watching this in the 80s, you would have been like, oh yeah, look at what her lifestyle is doing to this young boy. I don't know
Crazy
how
lifestyle.
you're crazy.
Mona's crazy sex
Crazy
lifestyle.
sleeping with men lifestyle. But yeah, so that's one of the things in this episode that kind of just feels weird. Okay.
Yeah.
So now it's like the next day or a couple days later or who knows
Whatever.
when. Yeah.
We don't know.
Tony is sitting on the couch reading the articles in this magazine because he's leafing through
As he's
Mature
reading
Woman.
the articles.
Oh, so maybe it is a little bit later because the magazine's actually out now. When before she just had like the, mock of the cover.
True.
And Angela comes in. She's got a couple sodas. She puts one down in front of Tony. That's really cute.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, Jonathan's not home yet. It must mean he lost the election. And Tony's like, oh, that's kind of pessimistic. How do we know he isn't hanging out with his friends celebrating? And then he looks at Angela and he's like, yeah, you're right. He lost. Angela says first he gets humiliated by his friends. Then he has a blow up with Mother. What's next? And Tony says, puberty. And he's right.
Yeah. He really is.
Things are just going to get worse here for a while.
Yeah.
Now, Mona comes in holding a stack of magazines. She asks, anyone up for a Mature Woman? And Tony's like, oh, you temptress, you. And Angela says, oh, you bought all the magazines. That explains why I couldn't find one.
Ah.
I kind of feel like they were trying to go for this idea that Mona maybe bought them so that his friends wouldn't find them. But she says that she bought as many as she could because she wants to send them to all of her former boyfriends and let them read it and weep.
Oh. Okay.
And Tony says, and drool. Oh, no, I'm sorry. She says, and drool. And Tony says, I bet they won't be reading for the articles. All right, now Jonathan comes in, and this is a bit later because the shiner has faded quite a bit on his face. It's not as bad as it was before. And
Oh, yeah, for sure.
they look at him and they're like, so? And he says, I won. And they're like, oh, great, congratulations. And Tony's like, I knew you could do it. And he's like, yeah, well, my opponent moved to Rhode Island.
Yeah.
So I guess he just won by default.
Whatever, he won.
Right. But
right?
Yeah, he's going to take it. He's happy. He doesn't care. Jonathan says that he decided that he wasn't going to let whatever they said to him bother him. So Tony's like, all right, great. Happy days are here again. And they're all very excited for him. And then Mona comes in. And she's like, oh, it sounds like there's a celebration going on and I wasn't invited. And they explain that Jonathan has been elected as treasurer. So she's excited for him too. She's like, oh, congratulations. And he's just kind of sitting there and he looks up at Angela and Tony. They look at each other and they're like, oh, don't we have something that we need to go do in the kitchen? Mm-hmm. And so they hustle out of there. Now again, so Jonathan's come to the realization that he isn't going to let them bother him, which I feel like would have made more sense if Mona hadn't been so apologetic about the fact that she was not a normal grandmother to begin with. But Angela and Tony get the idea that they should leave the room.
Right.
So Tony's like, we should go in the kitchen. And then Angela's like, I was thinking the den. And he says, you can't. He's whispering, you can't eavesdrop as well in the den.
So silly.
And she's like, oh, yeah, the kitchen.
And then they both go running into the kitchen.
I know. And they're like pretending to sing the song, Happy Days Are Here Again.
Right.
So she referred to that room as the den and not her office.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So it's a den.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Are we ever going to see? We will see that room.
We do?
We do.
Oh, I'm excited about that.
I know one specific episode that everybody hates that we will see that room.
Okay.
I don't know if we'll see it before that or not.
I can't wait to hate that episode and see the den. I'm looking forward to it.
Once they leave, Jonathan and Mona start talking. And Jonathan's like, you remember when I said I wished you weren't a normal grandmother? And she's like, oh, vaguely. And he's like, well, I didn't mean it. And I also didn't mean when I said that all you care about is yourself. And I also didn't mean that I wish you moved away and never came back. And she's like, you never said that.
She's like, yeah. Right. Like, wait a minute. Time out.
He said, well, I was thinking it. I love Katherine Hellman tears up so well. Like, she's not crying, but she's tearing up here for sure. And Jonathan asks her, do you still like me? So she takes his hand, and she sits him down on the couch, and she says, I may not be a normal grandmother. I may not even be one of the best grandmothers, but I have something in common with all of those knitters and bakers, and that's I love my grandchild.
Oh.
So they hug. It's very cute.
Very nice.
And then he says, do you love me enough to take me to Hawaii? And she says, don't press your luck, bub.
Yeah, don't press your luck, bub.
So now from the kitchen, Tony and Angela are just blatantly looking out the kitchen.
They're not eavesdropping. The door's open.
Right.
They're leaning in and they're listening. That's eavesdropping. Come on.
And Angela says, oh, look at them. I raised those two right.
I know, that's actually a funny.
It is funny.
Stab at Mona. The fact that.
Because she really has raised.
Right, exactly. It's kind of funny.
Yes, never a more true statement has come out of Angela's mouth.
Than those words. Right.
And then she's like, isn't it great that everything worked out? And Tony says, yeah, and I still have a shot at Hawaii.
Yeah, see?
All right, in the tag.
Wait a minute. Why does Tony have a shot at Hawaii?
Because she told Jonathan she's not going to take him. Don't press your luck, bub.
Oh.
So
he has a shot at going with her.
Right.
God, how did I miss that? Duh. I'm like, how was Tony in contention in the first place for Hawaii?
No, he's just got to hitch a ride with somebody.
Now. Right, duh.
All right, now in the tag, Tony is, again, trying to study.
Right.
And he's reading the quote over and over again. The death of dogma is the birth of reality. The death of dogma is the birth of reality.
And his faces here are so ridiculous when he's trying to...
I know.
Like the face is supposed to make him understand it more.
And he's always like wiping his chin around his mouth.
Like, yeah, right. It's just the way he's doing it. The death of dogma. And his face is so ridiculous.
Little Jonathan comes downstairs. What is this kid wearing?
I don't know. Jonathan clothes.
I know, but last week or
tucked in,
one of the last
down,
episodes,
long sleeve shirt.
Recently, he had on pleated kind of 80s looking acid wash jeans
Right.
Or they weren't acid wash, but they were like 80s looking jeans. And now he's like back to 70s jeans.
I know, but
here.
this is probably what smart kids look like in the 80s, so
Yeah,
they went with
maybe.
it. We have no idea.
And he says to Tony, "Are you busy?" And he says, "Dogma can wait." Jonathan sits down and he's like, "About this whisker, should I keep it or shave it? And if I shave it, should I use a straight edge or an electric razor?" And then Tony just
rips the
reaches
hair out of his
over,
mouth.
pulls the whisker, and yanks it right out of his face.
Right.
And he's like, "Ow!" And
So
then
be
Tony
it.
goes back to what he was doing. And he says, "The death of dogma is the birth of reality." And he looks at Jonathan. Okay, so I looked up this quote. Now, two things here. One, there are two versions of the quote. The more popular
Really?
one seems to be, "The death of dogma is the birth of morality."
Right.
Which means, so dogma is supposed to be, is things that we just accept as true. Like the 10 Commandments. Like we don't,
Okay.
so like,
Well, that makes sense.
yeah, we've just been taught them. We're just supposed to think that they're true and not question them.
Okay.
Of course, people really do question that anyway. And so that quote means that if you get rid of all this dogma, like forget the 10 Commandments, then you get to true morality because you're doing things because you think or know that it's right and not because you've been told that it's wrong.
Oh, okay.
The other version of the quote is what he said, "The death of dogma is the birth of reality." And that's used, I think, more as an atheist quote because it's like the 10 Commandments don't exist because there is no God. So once you get past that, then you just deal with reality, which is, you have
Right.
to make your own choices and do
Interesting.
right things.
Right.
So it kind of works in this situation when he used
Right.
the reality line because, again, Jonathan is questioning what to do with this whisker kind of in a way where people kind of contemplating question things that we're supposed to know are true. And then Tony just rips it out because it's one little dumb whisker. And that's the reality. Like, you have one whisker, so stop worrying about it. And now it's gone. So I feel like they kind of were going for a parallel there, but
Right.
it's really loose. And I'm not even so sure. I mean, I'm not even so sure that second quote is even real. But,
I know.
but
Probably isn't.
it doesn't seem to be the more popular use of it, which is the death of dogma is the beginning of morality. Okay. Anyway, that is the end of the show.
Yeah, you really read into that.
Well, I was just.
No, I know what you were trying to do.
I figured they
You
had to pick those two quotes for a reason.
Absolutely.
But I feel like they had a hard time getting them to fit. So if they were going for that avenue, then they did their best.
Yeah,
if they
that's true.
weren't at all, then they did better than they thought because they kind of related to what he was studying.
That's true.
Okay, you go first with reading.
Oh, God.
I just sprung that on you.
I know you did, and that's okay because I have a rating. I went with a 6.5 on this episode.
Okay.
I feel like I think they tried in this episode,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like it's almost one of those episodes that could have been an hour, not because of the content, but because of what they had left to explain that they really didn't.
Right, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like the next thing you know, Jonathan's mad at Mona, which, I mean, is kind of explained in the episode, but there really isn't a resolution to it all in a way, right? I mean,
That's the thing. Like, yeah,
I don't think there's any, yes, Jonathan apologizes to her and says, "I'm sorry for this and I'm sorry for that." He talks to her I don't know. There really is just this weird, like, something is missing in this episode.
I thought the
felt.
same thing. It's
So that's why I gave it a 6.5.
yeah. I also gave it a 6.5.
Okay, great.
And I agree, because there is something missing. Like, Jonathan says, "I don't like the way you are. Why are you this way?" She kind of apologizes for it in a
For not being a
roundabout
traditional
way. Like, "I'm sorry, I'm not the grandmother that..."
Right,
yeah.
right.
And then he wins the election. He says he decided he wasn't going to let it bother him.
Right.
And then
and
they
I'm
make
sorry,
up.
Grandma.
Yeah.
I'm
But it
sorry. I
wasn't
wish you
like
were
a-
just a grandma that did cross stitch and stuff. But
But instead of saying, like, "This is who I am and I'm not going to apologize for it," and you have to understand that people one grandmother doesn't fit the mold, you
True.
know? And
True.
then Jonathan coming to that realization of, oh, yeah, you know, a woman should be able to live her life the way she wants to, and I just need to tell these kids to shut up and leave me alone. And I'm actually kind of proud that you're on the cover of a magazine.
Okay.
And then they had yeah, you're right. There is no resolution really, but everybody just makes up in the end. Anyway.
Right. Which is fine. But yes, that's what gave this a 6.5.
But the other thing somebody pointed out to me on Facebook is that they were asking what would an episode have to be like a 9 or a 10. And I think
Tony and Angela just throw down on the couch. I don't know.
I know. Like,
no, I don't know.
I feel like we've kind of started low.
That's what I
and
said.
So
the bar's low.
Yeah,
right?
and so we're a little.
So now here we are.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not.
So take a 7.5 or an 8 is good.
Yes, because
Has
I
there been
think
an 8?
I'm not.
Someone said an 8.
I think I've had an 8 before.
And what is it out of 10?
Yeah. Yes, it's out of 10.
Here we are, almost more than halfway, a little bit more than halfway.
Yeah, and you're
through,
asking
and I'm wondering what it.
Right.
No, I mean I know.
No.
Right. Because if it's out of 8.
So now the other thing too is I feel like when I give this rating, I'm judging it against other shows and maybe not Who's the Boss.
Right. Okay.
Like I'm judging this episode of television as because.
I'll go
honestly,
with that. I agree with that 100%.
Who's the Boss is never going to be a 10. Like it wasn't, you know, it is what it is. And we love it. And I am thoroughly enjoying watching these, but it's not Breaking Bad. And that's okay. But I think that's kind of where I was going with when I was doing the original ratings, which is why they may seem low now.
Right.
But I'm sorry. I didn't.
It's not Saved by the Bell.
Now we can't.
Oh, wait, no. I'm just kidding.
Now we can't go back and redo any of this. So the ratings are what they are.
So we're going to stay with that for
Yes.
the rest of the series,
Right.
just so in case anyone's wondering.
So they're just going to be low ratings. Okay.
Who's the boss around here? Me? Or my mother? Or maybe it's you?
I went with Mona as the boss, but I don't even really know if I believe that. Because she came up with the ad campaign. She
True.
did the outrageous thing.
Right.
I mean, she kind of apologized to Jonathan for being like, she really would have been the boss if she was like, this is who I am and take it or leave it, kind of in a nice way. But, you know, then she kind of stood her ground and then Jonathan had a change of heart. So I went with Mona as the boss.
Whatever.
But then I am confused as to if Mona was buying up all the magazines so that Jonathan wouldn't be further embarrassed. But
I know that I didn't understand either.
Yeah, but she may have just really been buying them up so that her boyfriends could be sad. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. There was a lot of confusion with this episode. I don't know. I didn't really know who the boss was. But if I had to pick a boss, I would go with Tony. And the only reason is because when everybody had a problem, they came to Tony.
Oh, that is a good point.
He was on the couch trying to study. And then, you know, he's trying to study all his, like, philosophy. No, what was it?
Philosophy.
Philosophy. Okay, I want to make sure I was right on what I was saying. And so he would still, like, no, I wasn't doing... Like, Tony never shows if he's actually busy or not.
Right.
And he still, like... accommodates everybody else's needs and just kind of goes with it, even though he's behind on his homework or whatever. So I don't know. I just took that one block of the show as that he was the boss. Like he's still, I don't know.
And he gave Jonathan the advice, and he gave Mona the advice.
And so I don't know. I just felt like maybe Tony was the boss.
All right, well, I'm gonna go with that. But I like yours as well. You can stick with yours.
And that's fine. Because you're probably right.
I don't know. Who knows?
Right. I don't know. The episode was 6.5. Who knows?
Okay, you can reach us at Who's the Boss Podcast on Instagram or Who's the Boss Pod 1 on Twitter or on Facebook. We're the Who's the Boss Podcast page. Or go to anchor.fm/WTB Podcast and there you can leave us a voice message. Now, the next episode we're going to cover is called Tonan Enterprises.
I don't know what this is.
You're going to recognize this one because I think we
Really?
watched it with the girls.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's
I'm
when
excited
Tony and
about it.
Angela start their tie-dye business and they're like
Oh, yeah.
competing with each other.
Yeah,
I think,
kinda sounds
yeah, I
familiar.
think you've seen it recently.
Okay.
But, and what else was I going to say? I think that's it.
I think that's it.
Okay. Thank
All
you.
right.
Bye.
Thanks.
If you like this podcast, please subscribe and give a big thumbs up and tell all your friends. And maybe you can tell your grandma, your mother, and your sister or brother. Maybe have no siblings. Tell your dog and cats. Bye.